The Bermuda Triangle, that notorious wedge-shaped area of the Western Atlantic Ocean, is the subject of chilling legend as the devourer of dozens of ships, planes, and human lives. Many theories have been put forward for the sinister reputation of the triangle, which skirts Miami, Bermuda, and Puerto Rico, where it is said that the number of disappearances far exceeds the laws of chance. Some say that extreme gravitational and magnetic deviation causes radios to fail and compasses to provide wrong readings. Others blame radiation from submerged, still functioning machinery from an ancient civilization. In fact, the legend of the Bermuda Triangle seems to have originated relatively recently in an Argosy article written by Vincent Gaddis in 1964, which sparked a massive speculative writing worldwide. Alternatively, mythbusters like researcher Lawrence Kusche have also been at work to prove that phenomena experienced in the triangle are statistically no more prevalent than in similar ocean areas. But the unnerving and unexplained occurrences still persist in the public awareness, such as the accounts of the following two incidents. SS Marine Sulphur Queen, an astonishing time and location warp mystery, emerged in relation to a small expedition into the Caves of Thamlod in Pang Mapha, Thailand in 1897. A group of American explorers, headed by Colonel Anthony Turnbull, entered the cave system as part of their world travels to investigate first-hand mysterious natural locations. It was the third of their expeditions when they reportedly entered the caves on the morning of November the 12th, 1897. They carried with them ladders, strong ropes, hooks, 3 days of essential provisions, and 2 muskets. One of their number, William Cartwright, later told how after an hour within the cave complex, they came upon a small hole in the east wall of one of the caverns, an aperture barely big enough for a man to fit through. After lowering down a lantern, they ascertained that there was solid ground about 12 feet below the opening. They assembled their climbing hooks and propelled themselves down through the opening, where they found a sizable subterranean layer. Cartwright later reported that the vast cavern was pitch black and occupied by massive stalagmites and stalactites which extended from floor to ceiling. As the men continued clambering through the eerie complex of natural formations, they began to hear some odd scratching sounds emanating from the surrounding tunnels. They concluded that the noises must come from bats or some kind of insect, the eerie echoing amplified by the cave walls. However, they were soon shocked to see that the sounds came from unusually large spiders of a scale they claimed would easily span the width of a man's chest. Luckily, the giant spiders were wary of the men and scuttled away into holes in the cave walls. The men did recover a discarded leg husk from one of the creatures, but its authenticity was later disputed. On reaching the far end of the cavern, the adventurers discovered another opening which was surrounded by the distinct marks of human footprints, as well as a furrowed groove which indicated the use of a thick rope. Again, they eased their lanterns into the hole, revealing another floor over 20 feet beneath them. Lowering themselves down, they perceived a strange odour of iron and rotting wood, and as they wandered through the lower cavern, they discovered strange artefacts which included broken wooden beams, chain links, and several small unrecognisable coins. They continued trekking towards the northern end of the cave, where they discovered the astonishing sight of a huge wooden cog, measuring over 15 feet in diameter and which seemed to be fixed to the cave floor. The cog had a weighty rope wound around its spindle, the rope lying loose across the cavern floor until it was abruptly redirected underground. The men then put a lot of time and effort into clearing dried mud away from the cog, which they were finally able to start turning. As they did, the rope became taut and the men then started to dig away the ground from around the rope, eventually finding that the rope was attached to a large slab. To their amazement, they found that the slab had strange features, being uncannily smooth and unlike any other stone with which they were familiar. They realised in fact that the slab was constructed out of metal with an even surface and a dull grey colour. Tapping on the slab revealed a soft but distant echo, indicating that something must lie below it. Unable to lift the heavy slab with a cog, the team returned the following day with 10 additional local men they had hired. They were finally able to turn the cog sufficiently to lift the metal slab, and after raising it to a workable height, they shoved beams and rocks around it to stabilise it. They were then able to lower their lanterns again into a further dark void below. They were shocked to realise that this next cavern below was so enormous that only the light of their lamps could be spotted in the massive space. One of the local men tossed the stone into the hole, and they heard merely a faint thud after a delay of several seconds. As they resumed lowering their lanterns, Turnbull suddenly noticed that on the metal surface near the opening there was some white paint, and he and others started brushing away the dirt covering it. They uncovered the partial lettering of INE and SUL under the dirt. Cartwright reports that soon after this, one of the men accidentally dropped this lamp into the void below. The lamp smashed on the distant floor beneath them and spewed out a mass of what they described as blue fire, which engulfed the space below. The blue flames illuminated the entire cavern, and Cartwright later recounted smelling a dreadful and irritating odour issuing from the cave. In the eerie glow, he could see what lay down there. Hundreds of wooden boxes scattered all over the ground, ropes strung throughout the vast area, and a huge anchor. The blue flames enveloped the space and surged upwards through the men's entry hole. The group hastened to escape the massive fire, but on returning to the surface found that 4 of their number had not made it. After the terrifying incident, 4 more expeditions returned to the cave, but the lower caverns were obliterated, having completely collapsed into solid earth. For years after, the explorers insisted that what they discovered was an enormous ship, but they were never taken seriously. No further insight was gained on the mystery until a ship called the SS Marine Sulphur Queen went missing in the Bermuda Triangle while travelling to deliver its cargo of 15,000 tonnes of molten sulphur. The SS Marine Sulphur Queen and its crew of 39 disappeared near the southern coast of Florida in the now infamous Bermuda Triangle. However, the date it went missing was February the 4th, 1963, nearly 66 years after its astonishing sighting in the Thai cave. On December the 5th, 1945 at 2 p.m, 5 US Navy aircraft, TBM Avenger torpedo bombers, departed from a naval air station in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, for a routine 3-hour patrol exercise and practice bombing runs. The aircraft, collectively known as Flight 19, were all crewed by experienced pilots and Marines. Most of them had logged about 300 hours of flight, and they were led by Lieutenant Charles C. Taylor, veteran of multiple combat missions in World War II's Pacific Theatre. The operation was proceeding smoothly, as had the 18 prior flights, until, on turning north, Taylor communicated his concern that his Avengers compass was malfunctioning and that the patrol seemed to be flying in the wrong direction. The confusion compounded after a storm front blew in, which brought rain, strong winds and heavy cloud cover. Flight 19 became dangerously disoriented. Taylor notified base that the Avengers were lost. "We don't know which way is west. Everything is wrong, strange. We can't be sure of any direction. Even the ocean doesn't look as it should." Later, another pilot conveyed his unease over the radio. "I don't know where we are. We must have got lost after that last turn." The last message was, "We must be about 225 miles northeast of base. It looks like we are," followed by silence. 2 hours after leaving base, the squadron had simply vanished. Immediately, 2 30-man Martin Mariner flying boats were sent out to assist, but after a few transmissions, one of those planes also fell silent. At dawn the following day, the Navy assigned over 300 boats and aircraft to search for Flight 19 and the missing mariner. The intensive air-sea rescue operation worked for 5 days, scouring more than 300,000 square miles of ocean, but found nothing. They just vanished. Navy Lieutenant David White later reported, "We had hundreds of planes out looking, and we searched over land and water for days. No trace of the Avengers or the mariner. Either debris or human remains could be found, although the hapless mariner was later thought to have exploded in midair after a report from a witness." A Navy Board of Inquiry conducted a thorough investigation but uncovered nothing, and eventually attributed the mysterious disappearances to causes or reasons unknown. Other strange circumstances surrounding the incident included the apparent initial reluctance of Taylor to take out the flight and his request to be excused, as if due to some uncanny premonition. Also still unexplained is why none of the crew members of Flight 19 made use of their rescue radio frequency or their plane's ZBX receivers, which could have guided them towards Navy radio towers on land. The pilots were instructed to switch the devices on, but they either missed the message or did not acknowledge it. The perplexing mystery appeared to have been solved when in June 1991, newspapers worldwide reported the discovery of Flight 19, the legendary Lost Squadron. 5 aircraft were located on the seafloor by a high-technology vessel from the Scientific Search Project, which was looking for sunken Spanish galleons. Clear video pictures were broadcast of the 5 planes, which rested at a depth of 500 feet and in a tight formation as if they had dropped from the sky while under control. Affording some hope, they were identified as 5 Avengers, although they were only 10 miles off Fort Lauderdale, and so therefore much closer to base than Flight 19 when radio contact was lost. However, on examination, they were found to be of an earlier model than the Flight 19 planes, and with serial numbers that did not match. Thus, the enigma deepened, and questions around the fate of all 6 in total Flight 19 aircraft and their 27 crew members continued to be asked.